Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Working Mumma podcast. I'm your host and fellow working mum, Carina O'Brien. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. And if you've heard another episode, welcome back. Today, I'm joined by the incredibly inspiring Beatrice Toh. She's the mum of three and also founder of the much-loved kids brand Hey Doodle. I'm sure you've got one of her mats to help you for one of those many times where you don't have time for a colouring book, but you want something that's going to erase. Beatrice shares how she turned a job loss into a thriving global business, the reality of building something from scratch while raising three small children, and why flexibility, community, and fun are at the heart of her success. So whether you're a mum with a business dream or just craving more balance and integration and joy in your life, this episode is for you. As always, I would love if you would be able to share this with someone that you think might be interested or a fellow working mum. And if you could leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, that would be amazing to help more mums listen to this amazing content. All right, let's get into today's episode with Beatrice. Welcome, Beatrice. Welcome to the Working Mumma podcast. How's your day been so far?
Yeah, funny you ask. As I said before, half an hour before this meeting, my three-year-old decides to projectile vomit across our kitchen. So, you do what you have to do, clean up, and come here nice and presented. So, it's one of those days.
I'm impressed. Half an hour ago you had vomit on you and now you're sitting doing a podcast recording. That's pretty amazing.
I feel like that sums up the life of a business owner, mum business owner, really.
Yeah. We just get on with it, don't we?
Yeah. Well, after you
just go through it. So those of you that may not know you, Beatrice, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your career background to where you are today? Because I know you're the founder of Hey Doodle. And as I said before, we actually just had a quick chat. I've used your product and I think it's such an amazing, innovative idea. But how did you get to where you are today?
So I was actually trained as an architect before this. So I was working as an architect for 8 years. And the firm that I was working for was quite a large firm. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, they lost a lot of jobs, or a lot of jobs went on hold at the same time. And so there was a mass redundancy through the firm. So unfortunately, I was made redundant at that time. But thankfully for me, I had Hey Doodle running in the background. I had just started it, 2 months before. Was doing craft markets, on the weekend, that sort of thing. To be honest, I didn't actually anticipate running a business of this size. It just fell in my lap. So, let's give it a go. Let's do some craft market. But when I was made redundant, it just felt right to jump into it full time. And to be honest, if that all didn't happen, I know for a fact we wouldn't be where we are today. The business needed that one-on-one time, the full-time attention I could then give it. And yeah, that's where we are today. So 6 years on, Hey Doodle is now in about 850 stores across Australia. We distribute in about 27 countries and we are expanding into the US. So we are, starting our own base there.
That's pretty amazing and all inspiring. And how many kids have you had on this journey as well?
I had 2 when I started and then had 1 whilst the business was running.
Wow. And so what's it been like, I guess, while you're an architect as a mum and then also then starting a business?
Well, for me, because I started architecture as a student, went into it as a young adult and then got married, career was, a focus for me then. And then I had my first child and I said to my boss, don't you worry, I'm not the kind to sit at home and do nothing. I'll be back before you know it. And then obviously I had a child and didn't want to come back.
So completely relatable.
I was so drawn to my daughter and it was so all encompassing. I actually couldn't think of anything else. The baby brain was completely me for a whole year. But yeah, so after the 1 year maternity leave, I returned part-time, but the job had changed for me because I was doing part-time as an architect. You don't really get to run projects on a part-time basis. So,
How come? Just out of interest, how come you don't get to?
Well, you're sort of liaising with, all sorts of different partners, your clients, your contractors, and you can't be not responding twice a week, so they need that continuity. which I totally understand. It was a choice I made for myself. So then, you get relegated to doing a lot of filler type work. I mean, I still could run some small projects, which was nice, but my career had changed at that point. And until I was ready to come back full time, I knew for a fact that I couldn't ask for anything more. So then, carried on that way, had my second child, went away for another, 8, 9 months, came back again. And then that's about when COVID hit.
And then that inspired you to start Hey Doodle?
Well, it didn't actually, well, the inspiration for Hey Doodle came from, just stumbling upon this idea that I just felt the Australian market, it was crazy not to be in the Australian market with it. So my daughter is what we used to call a serial one-liner. She's the kind that would not use a coloring book if there was one line on a page. I can't use that page anymore. It's done, it's drawn on. And so we were constantly using paper, going out for dinners, and she would ask me for paper to draw on. And so when this idea came about, I'm like, this is brilliant. It ticks so many boxes. And as a family that used to go out a lot for meal, it was an entertainment that we could pack on the go. You could wipe it down with a baby wipe and use it over and over again. So that's really how it started. And it only took me 2 months from ideation to business go.
Wow.
So it happened so rapidly. I didn't have time to stop and think. And that's what I keep saying, telling this story, that I started this business in my pajamas. I was literally in bed on my computer, just Googling, suppliers. And, 2 weeks later, you got a prototype at your doorstep. But everything is made so easy and so attainable now. There's really no reason not to try.
Yeah. So just give it a go. If you've got
Give it
that
a
hunch,
go.
give it a go.
Yeah, it's at your fingertips. Give it a go.
Yeah. And so how's then that changed your perspective? I guess initially working for someone and then now working for yourself. How is like those two different, those perspectives and those experiences changed your
Yeah.
perspective as being a mum? Because I think also working for someone is very different to working for yourself.
Yeah, I think for me, it wasn't so much about whether I was working for someone or myself, but rather, you know, in a company, I have responsibilities to my teammates, not just myself. So I'm happy to work at night. I am a night owl. I'm happy to work at night, but obviously I can't expect that of my team.
Mm.
So in a corporate setting, you keep by certain work hours for obvious reasons. But as a business owner myself, I could, look after my child, stop, pick them up from work, from school, come back to a few hours, prep dinner, put them to bed, come back to a few hours. And that worked for me. It may not work for everyone, but it worked for me. So the flexibility is the biggest change for me.
And are you finding as well, how do you get your boundaries or are you finding that just between mum and starting a business, there are no boundaries, everything's, I guess,
Yeah.
blurred and integrated?
There were very little boundaries, I will say, from at the start. Yeah, I think also because it didn't seem like work for me, it was like a hobby. And if it was a knitting hobby or a reading hobby, you wouldn't talk about boundaries as strict as we are now when it's work. But I enjoyed every moment of it. And so it really felt like I was just pursuing a hobby in my own time. But at that time when it was just me as well, thankfully, because I was made redundant after quite a number of years working there, I was given a decent severance package, which meant I didn't have to worry about paying myself, which then meant that it's okay how the business did. If I was busy that month, with a sick child and I didn't get to do a sales campaign I wanted to do, it's all right. I'll do it another month or I'll try it sometime else, so it worked out well. I wanted to share that when it was just me running the business, there was really very little responsibility in terms of worrying about staff wages and, ongoing expenses. I was working out of my home, everything was stored in my garage. So there was no burden as such.
And then what's been that tipping point, I guess, from taking it from a hobby now into a business? Has your mindset changed around it, or you're just like, right, I'm so passionate about this that we're giving it all we can?
I think it's become a bit more serious, obviously, because now I have staff. We're a team of 7, and how well we do affects them too. And so, there has to be a bit more planning in place. There has to be a lot more structure in place. When I had my first full-time hire, that was immediately after I gave birth to my third son. and I just could not cope with everything I had to do on my own.
That would have been full on of
That was
business, having a
insane.
third child.
And I remember literally, finishing labor, and as soon as my son was settled, I was on the computer trying to finish up the tender I was doing, and I was like, gosh, this is the epitome of being a mum business owner. But when my first hire came on board, oh gosh, I'm so glad he's still with us. But he had to go through a lot of changes because he had to deal with my erraticness, like, so are we meeting in the office today? Are we doing work from home today? What's happening today? So we were going on such a day by day basis. But yeah, thank God he's a great guy and he's stuck on. And now we have a lot more structure in place as more team members joined. And we're still learning. We are definitely still learning. But there's just a lot of flexibility in place because I understand what it's like to be a mum and trying to juggle work. And a lot of my team members are mums with young kids too.
And so what did maternity leave look like for yourself with that third child? Like, did you
Yeah.
take much time off? Sounds like you're still in labor or even just at birth. Like, that would have been such a different experience. And I guess
Yeah.
there's no real return back into work because you would have still been all encompassing into the business.
Yep. I think the business was about 2.5 years old then, and the business was growing. And so there was no such thing as maternity leave. I don't even think I stopped to think about those two words, especially because I had onboarded a new hire as well. And he wasn't as well versed with what the business was going through as I was. So, no maternity leave. You sort of just work when I could. But again, even then, it was still an enjoyable process for me. And I think that made the biggest difference. It wasn't a struggle at all.
I guess, yeah, as they say, if you're doing something you love, you don't feel like you work a day in the life. So
yeah, that's exactly it.
which is
I'm
exciting.
exhausted. I was definitely exhausted, but happy exhausted,
Yeah. Sending emails in the middle of the night and things like that.
Yep. That's me.
So what have you found as some of the biggest challenges that you've faced about transitioning from being in employment to running your own business and also being a working mum, and how have you overcome them?
Oh, the biggest challenge is definitely lunch boxes and school drop-offs and pickups. I tell you, that does my head in. But personally, for me, it is definitely trying to keep within those school hours and working at the odd hours. By the time my kids start school at 9 and they finish, and my youngest son is in kinder, so pick up. I got to leave by 2:30. What's that of a work day? I get there, got a few meetings, and before I know it, I have to run. So time management has been the biggest challenge for me, and it's still something I'm trying to learn to get on top of. I don't know. I don't know how other parents do it, but for me, the solution is to work at odd hours at night. And also now with the US expansion, it actually helps because a lot of my meetings are at night anyway. Not ideal in the long run, and I don't do this all the time, but yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah. And then conversely, what surprised you the most about your journey as a mum and also as a business owner?
What I hold most dear to me is that my children have been a huge part of the journey the whole way, right from designing. Like, I design all the products based on what they like, and so that's how we've developed themes, and whatever they were interested in at the time would spark an inspiration for me. So it's really nice being able to do it alongside them, but also giving the opportunity for my kids to see what it takes to run a business. They see me working at odd hours, they see me working on the weekends, but not to say that we don't spend time together, but there are opportunities then for them to help me as well. Like when I go for markets, design markets and things, I bring my daughter with me. She's now 9. But she would stand there and close the sale better than I could.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, and I almost just step aside and let her run the whole thing because people stop to listen to a little girl. And yeah, there were so many that I knew I could not have closed that sale, and she made quite a number of sales. So
That's amazing. Did she get any pocket money from it?
of course she was spending the pocket money with her eyes before she got it. She was watching all the other stores around us, and she thought, yes, I'm going to spend it on that jewelry store and that. But she finished her 2 hours, and look, it was a great experience for her. She wasn't as eloquent of a speaker before that, and I think just opportunities like that helped. And it was a familiar setting for her. She heard me talk about Hey Doodle her whole life practically. But also when I won an award, I was able to bring her upstage with me. And to me, that was
Oh, that's so special.
it was so special. It was the pinnacle of my achievements. Being able to bring her up there and The speech that I gave told a lot of her story because she was a toddler when we all started. And I tell this story a lot as well, but she was the one who named the business accidentally. She kept trying to activate our Google Home device at the time, but she couldn't pronounce her G. And so she would say D. And so she's like, hey, Doodle, hey, Doodle. And that's how the name stuck. And, for her to know that a mistake, a seeming mistake can become something great. Yeah, I just feel that there's been so many beautiful moments where I could interweave, my family into this business.
That's so special. And I guess you're giving her life skills and experiences she won't get in a classroom. You can't, like they do public speaking and things like that, but that sale, that confidence
Yep.
and that you can't get in the four walls of a classroom, which is just amazing that there's those life skills that will no doubt sit with her and resonate with her for the rest of her life.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also the people that I've met along the way. Being a business owner versus being a mum business owner, I feel has a very, very big difference. So early on in my journey, I was doing trade shows. And I remember my very first trade show in Sydney that I did interstate because I'm in Melbourne. We rocked up and the entire row were all mum business owners. And we clicked so beautifully because everyone understood what it took for us to get there. It was time away from the kids. It was investment to be there. It was also me time, which everybody was, a bit like, but mum business owners I have found in Australia have been so willing to share their journey and experience. Everyone's looking for a friend. It does get lonely when you're running a business. It really does, but you make these connections so easily. And that's been another part that I really cherish about this whole journey for me.
Oh, that's amazing. And it just shows the power of community to help get it done and things like that. Do you have a community to help you from, I guess, the home life with the kids and everyone as well?
My mother-in-law does live very near us, but she comes in and out of the country. So when she's around, she's a massive help with school pickups, even just as something as simple as helping pick up the kids from school and letting me work till 5. And I say that all the time. Today, I got to work till 5. It's amazing, you know? Yeah, so she helps out every now and then, but we've also taken to just finding paid help with, laundry or cleaning, things that we could outsource. We have come to that point where we've decided we just need that help. So yeah.
Yeah. And how much is your husband in the business, or do you share then the load at home with him as well?
No, my husband actually runs his own business.
Oh,
So
wow. So you're both business owners.
yes, so he runs an architecture firm, and his firm is 11 years. And yeah, so on one hand, we both have the flexibility, and every day it's do you have a meeting? Do you have a meeting? You go get the kids. And so every Sunday we sit down and we have to plan our week out, to decide who's going to, take them for swim and gymnastics and who's going to do pickups. But I love that we get to do that together. When I was working as the part-time architect, a lot of that fell on me because he was obviously running the business. He needed to be around work. There was, there was a bit more flexibility on me in that sense because I was partly the homemaker, seen as the homemaker. But now we are 50-50 in everything, like I shared that story about my son vomiting upstairs on the kitchen bench. He was right there cupping a whole lot of ads, and we're both on our hands and feet cleaning up after. So it's become a very beautiful teamwork for us.
So it's interesting now that you've both then become equals, both,
Yes.
I guess, from a business sense and seeing your own business that way, but then that's also then resonated then into home life as well.
Yeah, definitely. I actually quite enjoy it this way. I like that we get to do everything together.
Yeah. And then planning it out and obviously in having that. So I guess those Sunday night plannings are pretty important.
They are, but we don't get to it enough. And so then we're always scrambling throughout the week. But yeah, we should.
Yeah. It shows that the importance of communication in so many ways.
Yes. So I rent a few desks out of his office. So we're actually in the same space all the time anyway. So communication is easy. It's always, we're yelling across the office like, yeah.
Oh, that'd be entertaining for both teams, I'm sure.
And they're used to us by now, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's good that the teamwork is, and no doubt the children are then seeing that as well with mum and dad, both following their dreams and their aspirations, which is then no doubt so special.
Yeah, I think it's but they probably don't know any better anyway. This is all they've ever known. But they they will understand what a hustle is. I feel that my kids will understand what it means to hustle.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And I know of lots of women, even like in the working mumma circles and things like that, that may work in a corporate environment, but they always have this dream of starting their own business or going out on their own. But, sometimes imposter syndrome and things like that holds them back. What advice or tips would you like to give to someone considering a career pivot or turning a side hustle into their full-time or even part-time flexible career?
I would always say try, right? But at the same time, I'm also hesitant to say, yeah, leave everything and do it. It oftentimes I feel like there is a right time for everything. And if you've done your market research and you feel that the market is definitely right for, the service or product that you want to do, then yeah, go for it. You won't know until you try for sure. But there are a lot of resources out there. If you are holding it back because of fear, there are so many resources out there. There are a whole lot of what do you call them? The mentoring groups, business
Mm,
coaching groups. There are forums, there are Facebook groups, and everyone's sharing information freely. So if it's a fear of not knowing what to do, the information's at your fingertips. Give it a go, and I think everything will fall into place. But at the same time, when I was straddling the two jobs, working corporate as well as having this in the sidelines, I did feel like my attention was quite split. And if the decision was not made for me to have left architecture, I don't think either of my careers would have grown because I was going at, a half mind on both ends. I was not giving either of it the attention I needed. Yeah, it just couldn't have taken off to where it is today.
yeah, that's amazing. And what do you then think has been some of those really critical areas that have really helped Hey Doodle progress and grow? Obviously, it's a fantastic product,
Thank you.
but it's obviously marketing and things like that, but also I think your drive and enthusiasm behind it seems to be, that's what I just get this passion. I've met you for the first time tonight and I've got this, you can just tell your drive and passion. Is that also what you think has helped its success?
Well, for me personally, I do think that my experience as an architect, running projects and seeing them through, project management for one, but also understanding design and aesthetics has definitely helped. So, right from the get go, we put a lot of attention into our branding, and that has definitely paid itself off. Today, when there are 7 competitors in Australia who do exactly the same thing we do, I I definitely feel that the strength in our brand stands us apart. Like, it's just yeah, it makes us stand out. So, the cohesiveness of the brand across our packaging, across our website, across our emails definitely lends itself to where we are today.
Yeah, which is fantastic. So really, yeah, if you're doing it, I guess do it professionally as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many businesses out there today. If you're going to start something new, you have to stand out.
Yeah.
And I suppose be creative with where you can, do brand collaboration. So I think that definitely helped to stand out as well. We did a brand collab with Australia Zoo and Melbourne Museum and Taronga Zoo and all these places. When you see our product there in their shop as a collaboration, it just gives us brand credibility instantly.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So what would be, if you've got mums that are out there that are obviously thinking about it, or, the piece of advice that you'd say, as a working mum that has her own business, that's managing the juggle with 3 kids, what tools and tips or, advice would you have for that person?
Oh, find a community would be a key one for me as best you can. It gets lonely, and I think sometimes you just need someone to talk to voice an idea so that it helps clear your mind. So finding a community was a big one for me. Um, my personal journey from doing architecture into business, or I know where I had no experience in business, the learning curve was very steep. And so I hit a point where I could only go so far with what I know. So for us, year 4 and year 5, we had to dedicate to learning more about business. So we put a lot of money into education, into doing coaching, into, business seminars and things just to try and learn more about what we don't know. So never stop learning, I suppose, would be my key advice. And yeah, have fun. I think I don't, it sounds funny, but money like the finances has never been a target for my business. It really just happened. And for us what we keep striving for is the challenge to see where we could go, the challenge of growth. So without the burden of, trying to hit X amount for whatever reason it may be, I find that there's a lot more fun in what we do.
It certainly sounds like you are so passionate about, working in your business and from where you've come and you're certainly how do you combine it? Like it's still amazing. Like you've got this successful business and these 3 kids. It's obviously your husband has been such a really critical part of communication. Are there any other things that are really helping you as a working mum?
Well, I know all the correct answers to say, like you need to take some time out for yourself. You need to
What's reality? Give us the raw.
That is totally not me at all. Look, I feel like I always come back to the same answer that it doesn't feel like work for me. So I probably don't realize I might be doing it too much. But that's it. I've always been able to step away from work. So if it's 5:30 and I've finished work, I'm finished with work. It's not lingering on my mind. Whereas that's not the case for my husband. If something's bothering him, it bothers him all weekend. But as soon as my laptop is closed, I am where I am in person. And so that's helped me draw my boundaries between work time and family time. So if that's not something you can do easily, then you have to be intentional with it. If you know that 7 o'clock is time with your kids, then be there and do that. It's better off doing, I think everything is seen, for me, success is seen as a whole. It's not just my business or my family or my marriage. It's all of it. And if one of it fails, then something's not working.
No, that's such great advice. And so thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd want to share with listeners of the Working Mumma podcast before, like through your journey? I know that you've got so many things to give, but is there anything else you'd want to add?
So I'm just trying I'm trying to block out my kids yelling in from the next room. And so I can't even think straight. I hope you can't hear that. But no, I think, look, I'm here. I'm happy to chat with anyone who is trying to go on a journey like this. But I'd say just do it and find a community and just go for it.
And sounds like have fun as well.
Fun, definitely. I mean, that's been a motto. Like we sat down with our team and we actually worked out what values our team felt was for us, for Hey Doodle, and fun was right at the very top of it. And it's not just creating fun products, but it's truly having fun when we are working. I think that if my kids could learn anything from me, is that if you can be happy doing what you do, then that's good. You've done well.
That's amazing. And so what do you do to fill your cup and for when you've got a moment to recharge?
I don't get very much of those moments without my kids. I've got 3 young kids actually, so they're 3, 6, and 9. So we're around them a lot. But look, I like to go for walks. I like to do random exercises like tap dancing, and I used to do trapeze.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I love it. But yeah, so I like to do these exercises. I take 1 or 2 hours out a week. But apart from that, I'm actually around my kids a lot. And yeah, I just them. Or
our kids can also, they fill our cups many times.
They do, yeah. Or I take a bath. I don't know. I don't actually know what I do. I read some books when I get the chance to, but the business has actually opened up an opportunity for me to travel. So we do a lot of international trade shows now, and I look forward to that for so many reasons because, flying on your own is a luxury in itself.
Flying with our kids, yes, definitely.
If you have flown with kids, you will completely understand my sentiments. But yeah, so being able to fly somewhere on my own for 16 hours, no dramas, I've got my book and I'm sorted. So my husband has thankfully stepped up to the game and he's made it possible for me to go away at lengths of time. And that is my recharge. I treasure those moments. And then coming home to a family that's so excited to see me is even sweeter.
I've been there. I've done the international trip, so I can definitely resonate and understand. So what's next for Hey Doodle?
We are, so as I said, we're in the middle of expanding into the US, and that is a huge task. Just trying to understand a whole different culture for one. Marketing there is so different to marketing here in Australia. We're dealing with tariffs. We're dealing with, stock, trying to get stock over there. But it's a whole lot. That's a lot's happening there, but at the same time, we are getting a lot of interest as well in our product, and so I feel like things are moving very quickly. So that's going to be a major focus for us this year, but also obviously keeping our Australian market growing. We're doing a lot of new product development. But yeah, it's all happening at the same time. So it's a bit of a crazy time at the moment.
I almost feel like you redefine juggle in so many ways. It's inspiring and it's really encouraging. So, Beatrice, how do people find out or follow along with the Hey Doodle journey and also yourself?
Yes, so we have Instagram. That's where we tell a lot of our story. Hey Doodle, Hey Doodle underscore is our Instagram page, and our website is heydoodle.com.au. But yeah, I mean, we're quite active on social. So this happens to me all the time. Hey Google, stop. So my Google device activates every time I pick up the phone and go, hey, Beatrice here from Hey Doodle. My Google device will go off.
And it's obviously the inspiration of the business name. That's awesome.
And now it's come back and bit me, But yeah.
Oh, that's entertaining. So yeah, I've got a mat. It's of drawings and cards and things. So yeah, I highly recommend if you're wanting those travel activities. You can just even with kids at home, you don't have to go through 1,000 different colouring in books. The textures are great and they're reusable, and it's also very sustainable as well as a product. So highly, if you don't have it, highly recommend checking it out. But also thank you so much, Beatrice, for coming along, sharing your journey and also your enthusiasm for starting a business. I have to say, I think you've redefined it, and certainly your motto of having fun is such a really good way of looking at it, and also working and inspiring your kids. So thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Oh, thank you. It's my honor to share my story. Thank you.
There we are.